Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday morning edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. Fresh live today with Eagles Minicamp today and tomorrow. Their mandatory minicamp, the first mandatory work of the offseason. And I think the last time we will see the team, or at least John will see the team, in the spring until the summer. J-Mac, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, my friend?
Yeah, doing well. Happy minicamp, start of minicamp. We get 2 days at least, so Tuesday and Wednesday. And then the Eagles will be off until training camp. Still no official start date, but that'll be in late July. And then you're off and running with a new season and a little bit new branding, I would say. Got to talk to Parks Frazier yesterday, the quarterback's coach, Chris Cooper, offensive line coach. So definitely some things to talk about that probably people aren't going to like hearing, but we'll try to educate as usual. But I've been trying to do that for 5 years.
Yeah, you have, John.
They will not believe it.
I'm sure in your life it's been a lot longer than 5. But right here on JAKIB, it's been 5 years. Well, John, we'll get into that. Obviously, the new branding you've mentioned again, which leads me to believe yesterday's conversation went a certain way. Can you tell me about him, John? You talked to Parks Frazier and Chris Cooper. Maybe start with Parks Frazier. What did Parks Frazier have to say yesterday? He was hired as this year's pass game coordinator, correct? Or is he the quarterback's coach?
No, he's the quarterback's coach. He was the pass game. He was the pass game coordinator last year. So we talked about that. That's where it started. I asked him about that. So
Grizzard is the pass game coordinator.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Basically the difference is, and we've gotten some clarity, and I think it's important because I was able to talk to Josh Grizzard last week, and for once we get some clarity with these titles. So basically, pass game coordinator is, really a game plan centric job, which Josh mentioned, and Parks kind of amplified that yesterday, basically helping, in this case, Sean Mannion, stay ahead of it. So, you sort of like work ahead. So we talk about all these wonky weeks where, especially when you're a high profile team like the Eagles, and you don't have that constant Sunday at 1:00 like the old days where you had the weeks, the milestone of the weeks, that the constant repetition that NFL teams like, and you have all these wonky weeks. So, you're basically helping them stay ahead of the game as they, have to go win on Sunday. So, and obviously, as the quarterback's coach, you're more hands-on with the technique and the fundamentals with the quarterback. So, more of a nuts and bolts job, I would say, than passing game coordinators. So that's the shift of Parks Frazier. Interesting because everybody's focused on the new offense, and some of the things that Parks said are probably not going to go over well, not because they're incorrect, not because they're meant to be bad, but because people just don't believe it. And I've said to you before we jumped on, the money quote, concepts are concepts, and when you look on film, a lot of things are going to look the same. That's what Park said. I've been saying for weeks, Sean McVay, on the record, 10 to 12 passing concepts. That's what you're talking about. In a lot of ways,
reminds me of the quote you had last week. Somebody who mentioned to you, same shit.
Yeah. An executive. New face, same shit.
I mean,
and then to wrap Chris Cooper in this as well, because I thought Chris was excellent as well. But he said, they call us coaches, we're really teachers, which I've said from that. That's the difference. Who teaches it best? That's the difference. So with the case, so Parks went on, a lot of it is just the intent on how you do things. So I think the biggest thing that the Eagles are trying to fix, and you're going to hear this a lot in training camp and as the season, marrying the run and the passing game together. But what does that mean? That's like blah, blah, blah. All they're trying to say is they want to be able to run everything from the same look so the defense doesn't know what's coming. So in other words, it might be just a simple stretch run, but you're running it from a similar formation that it could be a pass. You're not tipping it off. And obviously, if the defense isn't tipped off, and that's why it's so important to be on third and manageable and all those types of things when both parts of it are on the table versus 3rd and 13, which every defense wants you in because they know what you have to do. You become predictable at that.
Right.
So I think when the Eagles would say, there's so much misunderstanding of what went on. So last year when they say, well, things are predictable, and people took that as X's and O's. What they were really saying, no, we're in 3rd and 13, so we're predictable. Everybody's predictable in 3rd and 13. You're going to throw the ball. That's what they were talking about the entire time. And they've explained, and Nick's explained that in the past, but people hear what they want to hear. So, and here's the McVay stuff. I mean, you just worded it differently. So, this is Parks Frazier. You spend a lot of time on talking about the foundation of how you make things come to life, how you make plays look alike. Just my point. You make complex things look simple and simple things look complex. The illusion of complexity.
Right.
On McVay. That's kind of the foundation of it. Back to Parks. So that's what we're talking about, guys. We're not.
Is that a bad thing, though? I think there's a
no. It's not a bad thing.
Right. All right.
It's not a bad thing.
Because I think people will take it that way, but really, all we're doing is you're doing is correcting the narrative that people have that there's some grandiose change coming, but it's really, most NFL teams are doing it this way. There's similar plays or similar concepts, and like you just said, you dress it up differently to try and keep defenses on their toes. All right. Well, I think that's not a bad thing then, obviously. I mean, if they all say that, why is everybody talking about Sean Mannion like he's the evil genius? Then I guess that's just talking up their
Well,
guy,
that's
right?
Jordan Mailata, the hype man. In the same conversation, everybody should have a Jordan Mailata because in this, he called Uar Bernard, a freak, and he called Markel Bell out of, not of this world. It's good to have a Jordan Mailata.
Yeah, it is.
But as far as Sean Mannion, I mean, there's all good with Sean Mannion. There's nothing bad. He's very smart. Everybody, is on same page. He's learned under a bunch of smart people. He'll have some growing pains, but I do think some of the genius stuff probably does more harm than good because people expect the expectations go up. But, I'm not going to criticize Jordan Mailata for being positive. I mean, that's part of his job as a team leader, pumping up guys. But I understand why people run with that quote, but you have to understand there's a little hyperbole involved in there. And
absolutely.
There's nothing wrong.
I've listened to, obviously I listen to you every day, and I've listened to a couple other good people that I like on the Eagles beat, one being Inside the Birds and their podcast. When those guys and you say it's a new scheme, does that mean similar to what you're explaining right now, where it's just dressed up differently? And that's, the learning curve? Or when they say that, are they talking about literally new plays and new, based on what you're telling me, it sounds like all the concepts are all the same, so.
Well, that's league wide. That's league. that's league wide. It's become very dumbed down, which I've talked a lot about. So, you're only talking about a certain number of concepts that people run. And there's, as I said, Sean's on the record with 10 to 12. Most people don't go on the record, but not many more. You might range on a particular week, maybe 15 to 20 in the more complicated offenses. Not much different. That's just a part of the modern game, and a lot of it's the same. And that's why I say the teaching is the biggest part of it. Like, how many people run the Shanahan McVay scheme now? I mean, half of the league runs it. Half of the league runs Vic's defense.
Right.
And half of the league runs the Shanahan McVay scheme. So, I mean, right there, that tells you what kind of repetition you're dealing with. But is it a different scheme? Yeah, it's a different scheme because it's a different terminology, different guy, different leader. They are shifting from a heavy power running scheme, inside zone, pin and pull, duo, to more of an outside zone one. So there are little changes, little tweaks, but it's not like they didn't run outside zone. You don't run a bunch of inside zone and never run outside zone. I mean, you're just sort of tilting what you do more. Because they'll run inside zone this year. It's not like they're never going to run inside zone. And if they're smart, they'll probably roll out, especially if Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens are healthy, they'll run out some of the old stuff as well. Because they're good at it. So it is different. But there's not much difference between schemes in the NFL from a base concept to concept level.
Right.
Everybody runs the same shit.
And you're of the belief now that the passing concepts are going to be very similar. People are going down so it's going to be all hitch routes and go routes again. I know you hate that conversation, but explain that part.
Well, probably not, but that has more to do with personnel. They'll run fewer hitch routes because they don't have AJ Brown. The reason they ran so many hitch routes is they had two receivers that could win one-on-one pretty consistently. And that's an easy throw for a quarterback if a wide receiver is beating his guy. And it didn't work as well last year because AJ didn't have the typical year he had in the first 3 years. But that's generally why they did it. Same reason why they leave Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson on islands, because they can. Whereas, other teams, if you want to take it away from the controversial stuff and use that as an example, other teams have to help their tackles, and they chip and they lead people in, and they have tight ends lined up on one side to help, and that limits what you can do. So it's a tremendous luxury to have Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson playing a high level. I think the same thing in the receivers. It's a tremendous luxury to have two receivers that could go out and win on a hitch route. It's a positive thing. It was a positive thing for a long time for this team. Now they can't. So now they have to do some different things. So you'll see more bunch stuff, and you'll see more probably pick routes and things trying to get guys loose because you have to do that. You have to do it more.
Right.
So a lot of that is personnel driven, and that's where I bring up, Cooper saying, they call us coaches, but we're really teachers.
It's a great quote by Cooper.
Yeah. Well, it's it's self-explanatory, like other people talk about, but he did word it well where, people can grab it and hold on to it. And that's what, anytime you talk about execution where people their eyes roll, that's what you're talking about. And when it comes to the quarterback, the goal is, and I'll go back to Parks from his wording, from the quarterback's perspective. How do you view these plays? How are we going to read them? How are you going to get the ball out? What's our timing? All those types of things. It's about making it simple for the quarterback so he can play fast as possible. So from again, I go back to his wording. It's just trying to take one of the hardest positions in sports and make it as simple as possible. You try to make it where guys can play fast, even though there's a lot going on. So that's the goal. That's the goal of the whole Shanahan-McVay philosophy.
What would real quick, I'll go to that in a second. What was the overall takeaway though on them, John? They sounded like I think that was the first time you talked to Cooper. They sounded like competent. Sounds like they sounded like good, competent coaches that the Eagles have brought in, and a pretty good collection.
Parks has been around. Nick Sirianni dating back to Indianapolis, but he's also gone. He was in Miami with Mike McDaniel. He was in Carolina with Andy Dalton.
I still don't really get what they did, John, there. Like why they moved him to quarterback's coach when Jalen clearly liked Leffler. Like, I don't know if we'll ever get an answer on that. Maybe
Nick likes him,
Nick, right.
Nick. I mean, that's the answer. Nick wanted him. And he explained it. I asked him the question before the scouting combine. He explained it as, a sort of a bridge from the old offense to the new offense because he has experience in both. So I think that's the background of that. And then as far as, just a lot of ways, that's how coaches get jobs because they know someone. Or, in the case of Chris Cooper, he was on Vic Fangio's staff in Denver for 3 years. So, in a lot of ways, that's how you that's how it goes. And Nick likes Parks Frazier.
Well, Jalen likes Scott Leffler, right? Maybe that was his way of saying, I'm the captain now, Jalen.
Well, I don't even know if he cares or, that's, if you want my opinion, I don't think Jalen cares as much as, that was a salvo to say, hey, I can be passive aggressive too. After the ESPN. So I mean, that's just I don't know that for a fact, but I don't think, Jalen's like upset from, that he's got to work with Parks Frazier. I just think that was a interesting way to tweak the organization a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, I want to read this comment to you and see what your thoughts are, because obviously not everybody agrees with what you're saying, which is fine. Never, not everybody ever will. Here's Rashid. He says,
rarely do.
There's no chance they're working from under center, fixing Jalen's footwork and drops just to use the same route concepts and passing scheme. That's like mastering chess tactics to practice for chess.
You guys make this shit up in your head. Go look up Sean McVay. 10 to 12 passing concepts on the record. Go look it up. You got Google. Don't listen to me. You obviously don't want to listen to me. You're just making shit up in your head. I mean, it's there for everyone. Zander, you can Google it right now, and if you can pop it on the screen to people. I mean, what do you need? Everybody's got Google. I think it's still free if you got internet. Go look it up yourself.
So he says this. McVay uses progressions, not coverage reads.
He uses both. Everybody uses both, but yeah, it's pure progression heavy system. The reason people have shifted away from coverage reads, some people, not all people, and everybody uses both. And by the way, Parks talked about that, and I'll bring it up and I'll give you the quote because we asked. A lot of that has to do with Vic and Vic's ability to, and that's why so many people copy Vic, because his whole thing is stay the same and then spin off into your coverage post snap. So it makes more difficult reading what the coverage is pre-snap. Now it's easy for, some people still, veteran quarterbacks who understand. But again, you can go to my favorite pure progression versus coverage talk is from Joe Montana and George Seifert, when George Seifert was complaining to Joe Montana that why can't Steve go through the progressions like you? And Joe said, you do know I rule these guys out pre-snap. So even good coach, nobody goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nobody. The good quarterbacks have already ruled out pre-snap, even when they're doing pure progression. So again, there's a lot of misunderstanding of what's going on, and that's when the game was more complicated too, as well, when Joe was doing it. So yeah, it's more pure progression, but there's going to be coverage reads. The key is, and it generally can be week to week and opponent to opponent, because some defenses, a lot of it is dependent on the defense. Because if you're playing Vic Fangio, you're probably going pure progression because they hide it well. But if you're going with a team that doesn't hide it well, you can go coverage, and that'll bandy back and forth all year. All year. But I'll find that quote as well.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see then how it all shakes out. John, what's on the agenda today for the Birds? You'll be down there for mandatory minicamp, day 1 of 2 for mandatory minicamp. What's on the agenda today?
They'll be on the practice field about 1:30-ish, and Nick Sirianni's going to, 1 o'clock. Nick Sirianni's going to talk before practice at 12:30-ish, practice at 1, and then assorted players after practice. Don't know who's talking yet, but at some point, Nick's also going to talk tomorrow, so back-to-back Nick Sirianni. One of those days, Jalen Hurts will obviously talk as well. Maybe we can get the Scott Lepler question in and get a better indication of that, what went on with that. But here we go. Here's the progression reads versus coverage. The specific question was, will there be more progression reads or coverage reads in this scheme? This is Press's answer, still a little bit of both. I mean, I think when you talk about the types of reads quarterbacks can make, I think you guys probably are well aware. There's obviously progression, there's coverage base. Every system, I'm emphasizing, not him, still has both. It's just a matter of what the play calls for. And then the follow-up was, what do you believe in more as a quarterback's coach trying to pin him down? And he said, I don't believe in speaking in absolutes. I think every defense calls for different things. I do think that defenses have changed over the last couple of years. This is the Vic effect, and make it harder to make coverage reads. But that's not that's not 100% right answer. I think sometimes you might have a beat on a certain week where you can be more coverage specific versus other weeks that needs to be a pure progression type of week just based on the defense, what the defense can provide to you. So I don't believe in necessarily one or the other. I think defense can kind of dictate a little bit of which path you want to go. So if you're going into something saying you're pure progression, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. This is kind of what who was it last year? He spoke about Kirk Cousins spoke about a little bit about this.
Yeah.
That was a really good video. He spoke a little bit about this.
And people can Google that too. Google Kirk Cousins talking about it.
That was really good. I mean, that was worth listening to, especially with the guy who's, that is his style of play, and he's changed because of how much defenses have changed, in large part, John, because of guys like Vic Fangio who forced them to change.
Yep. It's the big effect.
It's amazing. Amazing. All right, we got a big super chat we'll get to in a second. I want to thank and welcome everybody for being here today. It's Minicamp Day. Looking forward to seeing what we see today. I don't know how much we'll see, but at least we'll see something from the Eagles, which is always good. Let's go to Alexander Harris, a $50 super chat. Harris, thank you, brother. We appreciate your support of the channel. He says this, John, is this the last year of Jalen's guaranteed money? And if so, the Eagles wanted to move on from him. What is the cap ramifications for that move? Also, good morning, guys. JAKIB Sports forever. Harris, thank you, brother. John, good question here about what the future might look like when it comes to a Jalen Hurts deal. I'll give you a second to pull it up.
Well, it's the last year of his major guaranteed money. He's got $22 million guaranteed next year, which is not enough to play under. So the Eagles have to do something with the contract. Have to either move on or extend them. Have to. No ifs, ands, or buts next year. So this is a big season, obviously, because, if you have another similar type season where you're good, but you're not great, the passing offense struggles, do you really want to pay that quarterback 50 to 60 million moving forward, or can you accomplish that with somebody at a much lower rate that can help you build up other areas of the roster as well? Plus, you have the draft where you can potentially find the long-term answer. You have the extra first-round pick. So basically, the Eagles have to do something with the contract next season. Now, Jalen is still in a quarterback deficient league. Jalen will still be worth quite a bit, and you should be able to get something back for him, pretty significant. So, trade would be cut is not even a realm of possibility, but trade would be. And if you trade him pre-June 1st, it's one of those things. It's pretty significant. 45 million in dead money. Not much. You don't lose much cap space. And then you have another 32 that would get accelerated. So you're talking about 77. So post June 1st, just like AJ, would be the far more likely scenario. And so you could split it over 2 seasons. But the larger point of they have to make a decision after this season.
John, what do you think they would do if it's not a bad year, but not a great year? It's a normal Jalen, like a 24 or even a 25 type of year. What do you think they'll do? Because that to me is the worst case scenario. Like, I either want Jalen to go out there and seize it and all right, he's getting paid. We don't have to question it. Or it's ugly, and we know we don't need that. I think the worst case scenario would be it's mediocre. The offense is maybe 15, 16.
Probably is the worst case scenario.
I know.
Well, to me, that then money comes into play. Like, do you want to pay $60 million for that? For mediocrity? But the second part is you have to have an answer. You have to have
right. That's probably the bigger part of that part.
Now, next year in the draft is supposed to be. Now, if you're having a mediocre season, like what does that look like as far as teams wins and losses? If it's like last year, 11-5, well, you're not going to be in a position to get a quarterback, or at least a quarterback that you would want. When they started at 23 this year. That's a long way to get up to the top 10, which is basically where you would have to be. And then you have to evaluate the quarterbacks. You have to like a quarterback. But, if they're 9-8, which is probably the floor, maybe you're in 15, 16 range. Maybe you can use the extra pick to go up in the top 10 at that point. Well, yeah, they have to make a decision. That's the key part. There's no, they have to declare, they have to plant their flag. We're moving forward with Jalen Hurts, or we're moving in a different direction.
You think there's a world where they could just guarantee like the next year's contract without extending it? Like if it was kind of that middle ground, would that make any sense?
If you could get them to agree to it, I don't know. You see the contracts Nicole Lynn's been signing recently with her other clients.
I think they have to understand. If you're Nicole Lynn, I understand you're going to vouch for your player, but you also going to have to answer to the fact that the offense has been mediocre for 3 years.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case.
The first time around, Jalen was second in the MVP voting and an all-pro. And had earned his contract at least at the time, every bit of it. Now, this is a different conversation, I think, now, if they're being honest in the discussions, which I think they will be at that point.
Well, I think there's enough built up in the bank to where they can spin it, as you see people spin it on this show every day. Look at the record, look at the playoffs, look at the Super Bowls, look at the Super Bowl MVP. And again, there's so many quarterback desperate teams. Somebody will want him and will be offering a lot of money. So I think that would complicate it as well. The mediocre part that you mentioned, that's the more difficult part. If he plays well, great. Extend him, move forward.
Right.
If he craps the bed, great. You got to move. You have to move on. But another season where people can have these endless debates on he's top 5, but he's bottom 5, which is fucking bizarre, makes it more complicated.
Oof. Tough situation there. It feels like, look, I think the best case scenario would be for the Eagles, obviously, would be Jalen Hurts to have a great year, obviously, and get a new contract. That would set them up best long term. But, do you believe, John, that would be a good move? Like, do you believe in the next 4 or 5 years having Jalen Hurts as the quarterback is the best move for the Eagles, given his skill set, given what he's done for this team, given the amount of success? I'm just asking for your opinion on it. I know it's probably a tough thing to gauge based on all the changes that are coming. Where are you on that?
Yeah, right now I say because it's so difficult to find a quarterback, what are the odds you're going to find a quarterback that produces like him? But I think you have to embrace, like I always say, you have to take advantage of the shelf life when you have the shelf life. And I'm far more I'm far more positive there after talking to the coaches than I was previously. When I thought they were going to try to remake him, and now I'm hearing all the similar stuff, that more of the rebrand, a lot of similar concepts. It's going to look the same on film, yada, yada, yada. Footwork. I asked about footwork as well. because that's a big thing because you're under center and, downplay that as well. There's only, I'm trying to find that quote. So when he was talking about footwork, and this is again Parks Frazier, there's only so many drops that a quarterback can take. I just think that a lot of it is just how specific we are and how each play we talk about from the quarterback's perspective. So again, there's not necessarily a bunch of different drops or a ton of new techniques. It's just how we bucket it, how we categorize it for them, just to make it simple for them and go fast. So again, he's downplaying the change. So I feel more comfortable that they're not just going to turn him into a fish out of water. They're going to just take advantage of what he is. But he's going to play under center more to help the running game. I've said from day one, I had a pretty good indication. It's more, this shift is more about the running game than it is the passing game.
Right. Because if they get that going, everything else will fall into place much easier. Yeah, I mean, I the thing I don't like about this offseason right now, from a fan base standpoint, is they've seemed to have built in another scapegoat already if this thing doesn't work, where it's going to be all the coaches and all Nick Sirianni and all Sean Mannion. And it's like, all right, I'm done with that. I'm done with that.
That's built in. I'm done with that. That doesn't
How many
change.
coaches are we going to blame?
That doesn't change. Every single one in perpetuity. That never is going to change.
That's stupid. I won't be talking about. We won't be doing that here on Birds 365. I mean, at some point, the people on the field have to be accountable. I mean, if the offense stinks again, it's Jalen, it's the offensive line, it's Saquon Barkley, it's DeVonta Smith, it's Dallas Goedert. I mean, these are the people that have much more of an impact on the success of the offense than Sean Mannion does, at least in my opinion.
Well, in everybody's opinion, everybody who knows, I mean, that's another Chris Cooper. Chris Cooper said, great players make great coaches, not the opposite around.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how these people look at Vic Fangio, who's had 25th ranked defenses in his life, and don't understand that very quickly. I mean, whatever. I digress. We got a couple more super chats. We got one more big one from Alexander Harris. Alexander Harris, thank you, brother, for the super chats. 250 burgers today. We appreciate you, man. He says this: if Jalen has a down year and AJ has a really good year, what do you think the conversation would be in Philly and around the world? How bad would you expect it to get here in Philly? LOL.
Well, I think there's different levels. I don't think it'll affect the Eagles much, but yeah, I mean, it'll be all over talk radio and all. Yeah, they'll never stop talking.
Go into his previous comment about the contract. I mean, if if AJ goes and rips off 1,500 and our passing offense is pedestrian once again, well, I think that's going to play in Philly.
Oh, is it? Yeah, but again, outside the walls, I mean, the Eagles know they're not better without AJ Brown, and they know just the landscape that there's $22 million left of guaranteed money, so they got to make a decision after this season. They know that right now. And in some ways, not having AJ Brown, if you want to look at a silver lining, might make that decision making easier. Versus the propped up. He's not going to prop up a rookie Mekhi Lemon. A rookie Mekhi Lemon, is not going to prop up Jalen Hurts. Dontavian Wicks is not going to prop up Jalen Hurts.
No,
maybe AJ Brown
did. Going to have to prop those guys up for sure.
Yeah. So, in some ways, it might make that decision. Give that decision more clarity, but they already know all that stuff. And look, he probably will have a big year in New England, so prepare for it, unless he gets hurt, which is potential because of the knee stuff, which is.
Who has a bigger year, AJ Brown or DeVonta Smith?
Well, I think that depends on health, number one. But if they each play 17 games, if they're each healthy, AJ's going to have a bigger year because he's got the high volume quarterback. Not necessarily even not that DeVonta's not going to play well. You have to play a certain style, and they're going to throw the ball more. And so, I mean,
here's a good question. We'll get to a couple of our other super chats. I want to thank everybody for being here. Wolfie, we'll get to yours in a sec. Here's Sealed Fate says, J-Mac, do you think Jalen Hurts has the coaching that will push him this time around? The reason I ask is that he needs to improve this season, but will they pivot away like they did before? I think that's a great question. I mean, you talked about how they bailed on it after 4 weeks in 2024. Really just no patience to allow growing pains. How do you see that part of it this year, John? Will they be patient enough to allow Hurts to grow through the process?
Yeah, I kind of look at it differently. I don't think they're look, I talked to somebody yesterday again, and it's like, win on Sunday, basically, or Wednesday or Thursday or Saturday. Win the game. I don't think that's changing. So a lot of people look at it as you just framed it as, like, I just think that's Kellen Moore being a good coach. Took in the information.
I agree. But you did talk about at the time that it was unfair to the quarterback specifically, not the team.
Well,
the quarterback specifically.
Yeah, I said it at the time, but I was obviously wrong because they won the Super Bowl.
Well, no, you weren't wrong. See, I disagree with you.
It depends what your goal is.
Well, I think Prince's question is specifically about Jalen Hurts because we just talked about the contract. Like, if he's going to be here for 5 more years, you're going to need him to take those steps forward and get through those growing pains if you want to get to the other side. I don't think you can continue to do what they did in week 5 of 2024, condense it all down and do it that way, and then have Jalen for another 5 years. That to me doesn't – I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah, well, that part's a more difficult discussion because let's be honest, they have a large sample size on Jalen Hurts, a large sample size. They should be able to make the decision right now if they want to continue down this path or not continue down this path. I don't think, in a lot of ways, I don't think anything that's going to happen this season is going to give you that much more insight into Jalen Hurts as a specific player. Other than, is he going to run the ball, more? Is he really removing that from part of his game? Is he removing some of the off schedule stuff from his game? So I don't know, like, what do people think is going to happen this year? They're either going to be successful in the team fashion and they're going to move on and keep the path, or they're going to be unsuccessful and they're going to go in a different direction. It's the same as coaching. It's just you're at a crux point with the most important piece of personnel you have, the quarterback. And like the rest of the NFL, it's really simple. Did you succeed or did you not succeed? Do you need a scapegoat? Do you not need a scapegoat? And I don't think that's right, but that's the way the NFL works. I don't think there's any grandiose change coming, positive or negative. I don't think he's turning into a drop back play action quarterback. I think he's going to be Jalen Hurts.
Well, the Eagles don't seem to want to build around that anymore. Well, I don't know. Maybe based on what you talked about with yesterday with Parks Frazier, maybe they are building around that still.
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah,
I think they are. Now, the other conversations, delve into Jeffrey Lurie and, when does his impatience grow to a point where they want to go in a different direction. But as far as everybody else, they're just trying to win football games. and they're going to try to. And if it's ugly, it's ugly. I think they'll be happy.
Yeah, I wonder what the Eagles would think about that contractually, but we'll get to that point when we get there. Alfredo says, does J-Mac get to talk to Mannion or Jalen today?
Not Mannion, potentially Jalen. Jalen will talk either today or tomorrow, but I don't know for a fact which day yet. But no, not Sean. Nick Sirianni's talking today and tomorrow.
Okay, so no coordinators at minicamp?
No.
All right. Here's Sir Wolfie Wolf with a super chat that I like. A man that I am not happy with, Wolfie Wolf. He says this, let's talk kicker. Are the Eagles going to bring in another leg? Elliott struggled last year from long distance. Stronger defenses again. Close games might come down to 3 points. Discuss. Sir Wolfie Wolf, I say Jake Elliott should be out of here. 2 straight years. Bottom of the league in kicking. Come on, Wolfie. I don't have any more patience for Jake Elliott. John, what say you?
No evidence they're going to bring in any competition, but they don't have any competition for the rookie long snapper either. But remember, with specialists, they're a phone call away. So basically, if you think about when Braden Mann came in here, Aaron Cepas, they were coming off the Super Bowl, had the bad Super Bowl performance, but they brought him back. And he performed poorly, and they cut him a couple games into the season. You bring in Braden Mann, it's worked out very well. If he starts to struggle again, they'll have a quick hook. But right now, Jake Elliott is the guy still.
And should he be?
Probably not, but
I don't understand. Like this is my problem with Howie sometimes. All right, well, we paid Jake $5 million. We got to keep. We just cut A.J. Brown loose for $50 million of dead cap. A.J. Brown didn't have as negative an impact as Jake Elliott did. Jake Elliott's hitting 68, 70% of his kicks.
There's a different. There's just different levels. So.
I know, but cut the $5 million and get somebody that can make some kicks.
Well, they think he can. That's the other part, and maybe, and that's been one of Howie's negatives. That sometimes he's too loyal. And they've seen this guy make a lot of big kicks over the years, and has still performed well in the playoffs, even though when he gets there, he's been clutch. So they definitely are giving him the benefit of the doubt. And should they? Probably not. I wouldn't agree with that. I would have certainly brought in competition. They did bring in somebody for rookie tryout camp, but didn't sign him. I forget his name, but I think, but this is where those void years on the contract hurt a little bit. When you misevaluate or a player descends, and you're still on the hook for significant money at that position. So the thinking is, and that's probably the wrong thinking, but there's a cost of doing business at quarterback. There's a cost of doing business at wide receiver and every other position. And there's a cost of doing business at kicker, and they're spending a lot of money.
Percentage-wise, though, it's such a small hit. I mean, I'm making the change. I mean, just for context, everybody, there is some people included in this list that did not play a lot of games, maybe like a stub kicker or somebody went down. Jake Elliott was 37th in the NFL last year in kicking percentage. Now, again, there's probably 8 or 9 kickers in here who played, I don't know, less than 6 games, but 74% field goal percentage last year. I mean,
again,
he was 17th in extra points percent.
They're probably being too loyal, but there's some crappy kickers out there as well. That it's not like you can just get the kid from Dallas or the kid from Minnesota. You're not getting those guys. So,
I watched the Rams make a change, didn't we? In like the end of the year last year.
And they stunk. I mean, they stunk early, they stunk late.
Who's the dude that we blocked? He had a couple. What was that guy's name?
He was the dirty kicker. He was good on kickoffs, but he
Cardi,
kicked field goals. Cardi, Cardi.
Yeah.
Kicked field goals 10 feet off the ground. It's like low flying plane. So I mean, be careful what you wish for. They he has been really good in the playoffs, and obviously he's been in high profile situations and made high profile kicks. But I would have brought in competition. It doesn't hurt, and I think their mentality with that is, well, he's competing with people around the league. They keep an eye on all the other kickers. But I think it helps if somebody's there that you're dueling with day to day. I think there's something to that. But they're definitely deferring to what he's done in the past, and the game moves quickly. And he's not the kicker. He was an all-pro kicker, and he's not. And they gave him a big contract for a kicker, and he's under contract through 2028, and he's got 4 more years after that. So you've seen this pop up a couple of times now where things go badly for whatever reason. Could be AJ for, just being unhappy. Could be performance like Jake. But when you sign these deals early and you get it wrong, it hurts. And they're holding on to him. If he had a lesser he probably would be gone.
It just feels like if you can't, how much worse can they get at kicker? So it's like, I get your point of it's hard to find a much better kicker. Well, it'll be hard to find a worse kicker.
Well, until you get to the playoffs, he had this shitty year and made every kick in the Super Bowl.
Did he miss an extra point?
He did, but he made all the field goals. And
what did he have? 2 field goals in the 1 playoff game? What did he do in the 24 postseason? Was he good there?
He kicked a bunch in the Super Bowl. I know that.
He was 13-16 in the 24 postseason on extra points.
Yeah, he struggled with extra points, which is weird.
10 of 11 on field goals in the playoffs last 24.
Yeah, he didn't kick a 50. He kicked one like 150, and it was in a dome, but then he delivered. They're definitely being loyal to him. But they were loyal to Aaron Cepas. At least he's earned it. They are loyal. Sometimes they're too loyal. I agree with that.
Yeah, I guess so.
This guy, obviously the Eagles have only had 2 Super Bowl champions and championships, and he's been the kicker for both in all 3 Super Bowl appearances. Overall, he is 28 of 29 in field goals in the postseason. There's your answer. Now, the extra points I can't explain because he's missed a bunch of extra points, but he's 28 of 29. And they've been in the playoffs, 1, 2, 3, since he's been around, since 2017, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And he's missed 1 field goal in the postseason. That more than anything just explains the loyalty part of it. They think he shows up in big moments, which he has.
All right. Sir Wolfie Wolf, thanks for the super chat today. I don't know what your take is because you just asked the question, but if your take is that Jake should be Gonzo, then I would agree with you. I'm out on Jake Elliott. I'm sorry, guys. I appreciate him. He's one of the better kickers maybe ever in Eagles history. I don't know. You're not going to come close to David Akers, probably. I think Akers has the most points in Eagles history, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think Jake's better, though. Well, maybe, he's fallen off. But he was, at his height, he certainly has, all his percentages were better. But he's been maybe that's dive down. Plus that I still say that 61-yard kick started the Super Bowl 52 run against the Giants.
Wow.
But Yeah, overall, he's been a very good kicker, but I understand why people are down on him after the past 2 seasons.
All right. Well, fair enough. Jake has 1,007 career points, which is a lot of points. David Akers is 1,700, but yeah, I mean, David also played a long time. How many years did he play? Like 15 years. Holy crap. All right. Well, good stuff. Wolfie Wolf, thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it. Talking about Jake Elliott was pretty good. Let's get to another super chat here on Jake. Philly Dom, what's up, dude? Appreciate you. He says, in my opinion, Jake should do the right thing and retire. Go out as one of the best Eagles kickers before his stats go down any further than what they are now.
Well,
Don, I got $5 million.
Do the right thing. Yeah, he's not walking away from.
Don, I got $5 million large for you. Are you walking away?
No.
You know, to do the right thing.
Come on, guys. Let's be serious. They should have brought in competition. That's my opinion. But he probably would have beat him out too, because you're bringing in a rookie. He probably would have beat him out. But it would have made people feel better. Maybe it makes him feel better too. Maybe he gets some of his confidence back.
Who was that dude that I was joking I liked in the summer, John? The dude who was kicking 75-yarders.
I forget that dude.
Jaffer Murphy? Well, did anybody sign him?
I don't think so.
Come on, Howie, make the call. Get him at 250, undrafted guy.
I guarantee if he's kicking 70-yarders, he's spraying that thing all over the place.
Yeah, he might be. He might be. All right, good stuff. Appreciate everybody for being here today. Good show so far. A lot of good stuff happening in Eagle Land with Minicamp today. And then after this, they're off for a good bit after that. So they will be off until training camp, which I guess would be end of July. We might not have the date of that until I don't know, one day before it starts. We'll see when we get the update on that. Yesterday, John spoke with Chris Cooper and Josh Grizzard. Right? I keep mixing up Parks Frazier and Josh Grizzard. I don't know why. They got too many coaches.
They do. By the way, the kicker they brought in to try it was Reese Bearhoff from North Carolina. So North Carolina's kicker. They also had Luke Ayerson, David's kid, but he was a punter. He tried out as a punter. He did both at Northwestern, but he was mainly a punter. And he tried out as a punter. They didn't sign either of them. But Reese Bearhoff.
Can we find some soccer dude that wants to make like $6 million like Brandon Aubrey? Can there nobody out there that can kick the ball?
Well, there's a bunch of soccer people, but that most of them played soccer at some point.
Quantum Philly says Elliott also sprays it all over the place.
Reese Bearhoff, he played 3 seasons at Marshall, and then he finished at North Carolina. He made 14 field goals and 40 of 40 PATs. Career best 51-yard field goal. Not great. So, but there you go. Would you rather have Reese Bearhoff?
I don't know if they already got rid of him, huh? So he's probably no good.
Oh, they didn't get rid of him. They didn't have him. He just tried out.
Oh, he tried out. Eduardo says $6 million. Put me in, coach. Eduardo, you know what that reminds me of? Have you ever seen The Longest Yard? What's that dude's name? Paulie. He tries to do the kick and he flubs it. That's you, Eduardo, out there on the field. You're Paulie. You walk out there and you flub it. You know, that's you. That would be you for $6 million large, Eduardo. We're good on that. John, how do you feel about the rest of special teams? They did give Braden Mann a big contract this summer.
Yes, they did. He's earned it. Hopefully it continues, though.
Yeah, because I'll be turning on him, too.
That's the nature.
I got less allegiance to kickers and punters, John. Come on, man.
Eagles fans will turn quickly. They have a lot of good special teams players. The question is, how many can you keep? Keely Ringo being, how do you keep Keely Ringo or JT Gray, who's been an all-pro? You can't keep them both, I would think, since they both aren't going to help you at a position. So it's one of those things where, Michael Clay this time of year is difficult for special teams coordinators because they don't know who they're going to have.
Yeah, I mean,
they're at the
teach
mercy
a
of
guy something, and then at the end of the roster cuts, he's gone. It's like
exactly. So I mean, they have like Stone Smart's a good special teams player. How's he going to make the team at tight end? So you got to wait and see who you have, and then make the best of it. That's the lot of a special teams coordinator. They are at the mercy of who's ever in charge of the 53, in this case, Howie Roseman. Because if it were up to Michael Clay, he'd want Ringo, he'd want JT Gray, he'd want Stone Smart.
he would have wanted Josh Jobe a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Mekhi Gardner. But they wanted to keep Eli Ricks, who didn't play special teams at all. So it can affect things drastically.
So I maybe I'm harping too much on kicker, but I see it very similarly to Rasputin. It says 50% from 50 yards is unacceptable in a league that averages 70%. It's a major disadvantage. That's both a loss of points as well as a high probability of giving up field position.
Nobody's saying he had a good year.
No, I just feel like sometimes it's being under talked about. Like it doesn't matter because they're kickers, so nobody really cares about kickers that much. But it is a big disadvantage.
Well, yeah, I mean, last year, I mean, you had really past few years, but mainly last year, you had the explosion and guys kicking 50-yarders. So, but I do think people sort of conflate. Like there's a bunch of Brandon Aubreys and Will Reicherts out there. There aren't,
Right.
It's one guy going 9 of 11 and the other guy going whatever, 10 of 13. And I'm just making numbers out of my head.
But Will Reichert, he was always a guarantee man. He was cash at Alabama, John, when he was kicking at Alabama.
But, yeah, he doesn't look like it, but
no, he doesn't. But
he's like tiny and it's just a cannon. But him and Aubrey were responsible for a good portion of that. So I mean, there aren't a ton of those guys. If you could get one of those two guys, great. But they're under contract to their specific teams, and they're not getting rid of them. And also, they're not 28 of 29 in the playoffs, because they can't get to the playoffs. So you can make do.
We continue to move on here. We're going to get into some of the minicamp today. John, before we do that, I wanted to get your opinion on the news that came out yesterday. We were talking about there was rumors the Eagles were interested in drafting a quarterback in the supplemental draft.
Yeah, that went away quickly.
Yeah, that went away like right after our show ended. What do you think of that ruling, though? I thought pretty surprising, given that, kind of the main rule of college football, you don't bet on your own team, and he did it, and boom, he's reinstated. Your thoughts, Johnny Mac?
My thoughts is they got it in, I guess, Lubbock, and it's probably a Texas Tech fan, which tells us more about the judicial system than anything else.
Yeah, right.
You got a bunch of activist judges, and sometimes, the activism is political usually, but in this case, it's probably football related, which is sad, but it is what it is. So I do think the NFL people thought he was going to have to go into the compensatory pool, and maybe they'd get an opportunity. Would the Eagles have drafted him? That was a Jason La Canfora report, and it was really from a GM outside of Philadelphia. And the belief, because what we talked about about Jalen Hurts, everybody around the league knows they have to make a decision after this year. So the belief, similar to AJ Brown, when I would say that stuff, all the leaks and all the stuff you heard was coming from people outside of Philadelphia for the most part. Same thing here. You're looking at not words, you're looking at actions. And they didn't sign him to an extension. They haven't negotiated at all. Jalen Hurts, I'm talking about now. So the league thinks, they might be looking to move on, and this kid's pretty talented. Might have been a first-round pick. But I have no idea if the Eagles like him. Plus, that's not even taking into account he seems to have a pretty significant gambling problem. From what was alleged, not like Isaiah Rodgers is doing a couple, DraftKings or FanDuel bets. So generally the Eagles don't get involved with people with red flags. So I think it was more of from a football perspective. The kid's a good player. The Eagles like adding good players. But now you'll never know because he's going to go back and play another year in college, which in theory would make next year's quarterback draft even deeper. So maybe we start talking about it next year, but I don't know. A lot of red flags to bring in that player. And they already have 4 quarterbacks, by the way.
Yeah. College football is a crapshoot right now. Needs something to happen. Good stuff there. Let's go to one more super chat. Sir Wolfie Wolf says, thanks for the supers today, brother. When will Michael Bidwill allow Kurt Warner to turn the Cardinals franchise around? That is the Cardinals owner, I believe, right? Michael Bidwill is the Cardinals owner.
Yeah. What does Kurt want to turn the Cardinals around?
Yeah. What do you mean, GM, coach? I don't even know. I don't know enough about the Cardinals.
Why would Kurt turn them around? Nothing against Kurt. Seems like a smart guy, but I mean, you don't just generally step into GM jobs without some growing pains. Now the Falcons hired Matt Ryan, but remember, he's not really doing the day-to-day stuff. Ian Cunningham is. So if you're talking about in that type of mold, maybe, but you would need somebody who really knows what they're doing in the nuts and bolts part of it, which is, again, the titles. Who's doing the work is the more important part. And I don't think you could just come in and run a team at this stage because it takes so much. It's a far bigger job than just scouting and, people don't know how big Nick's job is. They don't know how big Howie's job is. That's a big job, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Wolfie Wolf, thanks for the super chats today, brother. I am a fan of Kurt Warner. Wolfie Wolf, if you're a fan of Kurt Warner, you should go on Jacob's YouTube channel and you should type in the Kurt Warner interview we had. He gave a masterclass in October of last year. I titled it Kurt Warner Masterclass on Eagles Offense, Jalen Hurts, Kevin Patullo, A.J. Brown, and more. And Kurt really gave some good insight on that. If you like Kurt Warner or you like the Eagles, that was a worthy interview. Definitely worth your time, and probably still has a lot of good nuggets in there, even it being in the middle of last season. So probably a good thing to listen to. Go check that out on our channel. John, moving into mandatory minicamp today, my friend. The first thing I would ask you is, obviously you won't know this until you're down there, but will we see Mekhi Lemon back from the hamstring injury? Will we see Jahad Campbell back on the field? Those are probably the 2 big injuries that people are looking out for, if I'm not mistaken, right, John?
Well, I don't know if they're looking at, but no, there's no way they're putting them on the field for 2 days. And okay. I mean, especially with a hamstring with Mekhi. Jahad wasn't supposed to be back until training camp. So no, he was out there watching the other day, but there's no need to rush them back. Certainly with Mekhi, that's the type of thing you can aggravate. So you want to make sure he's ready for training camp and just give the other guys some extra reps. And so I wouldn't worry about it. But no, they're not gonna practice, nor should they. That'd be silly just to get them out there for 2 days in June. And the Eagles generally play it safe when it comes to injuries. So. But I know with the first round pick specifically this year, you want to see him out there. And I do think it's more important for rookies than veteran players. And Jahad's not a veteran player, but he's at least been through a training camp. And it'd be good to have him out there, but not.
So you don't think fans should be concerned at all on Lemon with early hamstring injuries like this?
Other than it's never good to have hamstrings, no. I mean, if you're going to have one, this is the time to have one. As long as you make sure it's 100%. Now, if this becomes a common thing in his career, yeah, it becomes a problem. But sometimes fast guys strain their hamstring, and if that's it, he's got plenty of time to get healthy. Like if this happens 2 weeks before the season, then you're like, oh shit. If it happens in May, ultimately, as long as he's healthy, yeah, you miss some reps, and again, that hurts.
That's what I think it comes down to. I mean, Jalen's trying to, have a big year this year.
Well, I always thought Wicks. I've said it from the start. I always thought Wicks would be the guy.
Yeah.
The two to start, and eventually they'll get to Mekhi Lemon as the two. They're both going to play, but
you think Wicks is going to be the X more than DeVonta this year?
Yeah, probably. Bigger guy. DeVonta will move all over, but he's better suited for Z and slot anyway, so you might as well take advantage. And Wicks is a big dude. He's like 6'1", 205, 210. So, he's got more of the body for an X receiver. Doesn't have the speed, but it's going to be tough to replace AJ.
It is. No doubt about it. All right, it's now mandatory, John. I'm expecting full attendance for the Eagles. They're pretty good at that. I think the only two guys who weren't there both times you were there were Carter and Lane Johnson, right? But they were.
There were a couple guys. Joe Tryon wasn't there. I don't have it in front of me, but there were 5 or 6 who missed the last time. But yeah, I expect everybody to be there. Jalen Carter would be like, because obviously they're won a new contract. So if, Drew Rosenhaus wants to make a splash, if he doesn't show up, that could be a splash. But he's been in South Jersey working out, so I'm pretty sure he'll be there.
Good stuff. All right, John, then some depth chart spots for today I think that are worth looking at. We'll start with quarterback. I think it's interesting to see what's happening with Tanner McKee and Andy Dalton. Do you think you'll see more of Dalton as quarterback 2 in this Eagles minicamp?
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, well, in theory, if they're rotating, we should see them both. They should get 1 day each. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. There's 2 ways you can look at it from my perspective. It's, well, if you want to trade Tanner McKee, you need him out there when the media is there. So, the Tanner McKee truthers can have their, he made a great throw. He made this, he made that, and it steeps its way out to Arizona or wherever. And who knows? That's how things happen. He's playing with 13 guys. He's not playing well. That would impact his trade value. And then the second part is Andy Dalton just knows how to play. Like, he doesn't need these reps.
Yeah,
he doesn't even need freaking off-season work.
Do you think part of their thinking with Dalton is a good veteran voice for Jalen to talk to? Not necessarily learn from, because I get your point about that. These guys aren't out there to teach each other. They're players vying for spots. It is nice to have somebody who's seen as much football as Dalton, right? I mean, especially playing a different style of football this year for the Eagles.
Well, I think it's nice for the team and the organization, but no, I never put much stock in stuff like that, because they're players. They're not coaches, and they have 57 coaches. I mean, They have Sean Mannion. Josh Grizzard doesn't talk to Jalen Hurts about stuff. Never mind. Never mind Andy Dalton. You got Parks Frazier. How many you got Jared Johnson? How many freaking cooks do you need? And again, it doesn't work that way, which I try to explain, but people don't believe. I mean, the guy who works with Jalen Hurts on a daily basis is Parks Frazier. That's it. Now, Sean Mannion's very hands-on, so you have Sean Mannion as well, but Grizzard is just helping Sean Mannion with game plans. Jared Johnson is helping Nick Sirianni with special projects. They're not working because they played quarterback. They're not working or because Josh was an offensive coordinator. They're not working with Jalen Hurts. Everybody's got their little job description, their little fiefdom. That's why I say titles are important, job descriptions are. And Andy Dalton is a player. It's nice to have that, sounding board if Jalen wants to ask him something, probably more on game day than anything else.
Yeah, I think game day is relevant. I think the quarterback room too. I don't know. I mean, I've seen some clips they put up at the quarterback room. They all sit there and talk about tape,
Unless you're JJ McCarthy and it's sitting on the opposite end of it. I don't know if you saw that story.
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a player's responsibility. I'm sure Andy, I haven't met him yet, but I'm sure he's been around for so long. I'm sure he's a fountain of information, but it's just not how it works. If you want to blame somebody for Jalen Hurts, and I know you will, start with Parks and then Sean Mannion. And then, actually Nick Sirianni, because it's interesting. I heard another, what does Nick Sirianni do? Everything. So blame him for everything. He'll say it again. You'll hear him say it. You'll probably hear him say it again today. Everything on that field has his signature on it. So if you want to blame somebody, blame him. And then it flows down. Sean, Parks, those are the guys who are working with Jalen Hurts most closely.
Well, we'll see what ends up happening there. John, the next thing I think that's interesting when it comes to the depth chart standpoint is the tackle position. Markel Bell, I think, was getting a lot of reps first team, and what you've seen so far with the absence of Lane Johnson. I don't know if Lane will be back out there today, but I thought that was interesting for the rookie. What are you seeing out there at tackle, and what are you looking for at that spot going into minicamp these next 2 days?
Yeah, Lane will likely be there. He's been checking in on Zoom pretty much. Chris Cooper said that every meeting. Now, it's conceivable if he's got something to do, they'll give him an excused absence, but it's not, he's going to be there. Remember the offseason, you have 90-man rosters. So you have a backup at every offensive line position. So it's easy to get Markel Bell first team reps if Lane Johnson's not there. The goal is, can he push Fred Johnson to be the swing tackle on game day? Because you're not dressing a backup left tackle and a backup right tackle. So it changes as you get down to 53. And it's probably a little bit too early. So, but he'll be getting second team right tackle reps, and Fred missed last week's practice, but he was there, so he might have had a little injury. And have John Ojukwu was taking the second team left tackle reps. So those are the guys to look at left tackle. But this time of year, you don't start cross training yet because you have so many bodies. Like I said, you have a backup at every position. But that's one thing that Chris Cooper learned, and he was talking about yesterday, because last year in Minnesota, they had to use, I think, some absurd number. I have to look it up. Offensive line competitions, combinations, because of so many injuries that they suffered. And he was asked, what did you learn most? And he said, cross training, because of what went on there.
Yeah, what do you have? 20 plus different offensive linemen last year?
It was some outrageous
Yeah.
number of combinations. I'm trying to find it, but and that was his answer. How many different offensive linemen that he had to use. And I recall Darrisaw was coming back from an ACL, and he missed a bunch of games. Donovan Jackson broke his hands. He was their first round. Ryan Kelly had like 3 concussions. He had to retire in the offseason. Brian O'Neill had some kind of back thing. So like 4 out of 5, and they have a pretty good offensive line when they were all healthy. They were never healthy. So that's what he said he learned the most from. But the problem here is the Eagles' depth doesn't look, well, to be kind, it's unproven. Other than Fred Johnson, who's played quite a bit over the past couple of years, they don't have any proven depth. Markel Bell's a rookie. Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams, Drew Kendall are second-year players who barely played. Willie Lampkin was on injured reserve the entire year. Jake Majors was on the practice squad. Micah Morris is a rookie. John Njoku wasn't here. Holland Pierce was on the practice squad. Jaden Roberts is an undrafted rookie. They have no proven depth outside of Fred Johnson. So they got to find guys, and Drew Kendall's earmarked to be the top interior backup. And they've been repping him at right guard because they know he can play center. So they want to get him up to speed at guard. And, it'd be nice if Markel Bell could show that he can play instead of just being a pure developmental prospect. And it looks like they really want to turn Miles Hinton into a guard as well. So those are probably the names to keep an eye on.
Fair enough. Good stuff there on the offensive line. John, keep moving here on the depth chart talk. Safety, obviously, is a one that people have had their eye on all offseason, and still an expectation of a move at some point. But Makuba, DeJean have been the starters out there in the base packages, and then obviously their sub packages. DeJean will slide to nickel per usual, and then Epps takes over at safety. Is there an open competition there? How do you kind of see the safety spot, and what are you looking to see in minicamp at that position today and tomorrow?
Yeah, there's a competition. I'm not sure how legitimate it is. But boy, it always pops up. One of my pet peeves. And you're right. Everybody says it's sub package. It's not their sub package. Their sub package is the base, which is Cooper. But Marcus, so I consider a Marcus the starter next to Drew Makuba. And then, they're trying to figure out if Michael Carter can play safety. And Andre Sam, those are the backups. And then, Kapina Gushikin, who's the undrafted kid who got quite a bit of money from an undrafted, or at least for an undrafted kid. They started him in the slot. Brandon Johnson is similar. He can play safety and slot. So they have a lot of young players with some versatility. But right now it's Epps and Michael Carter and Andre Sam, and then kind of a drop off from there. And it should be, Cole Wisniewski hasn't been able to practice. Don't know what the injury is, because the Eagles don't have to provide injury information, so they don't. So I don't know if he'll be back today or not. Something to keep an eye on, but right now it's those top 4 guys, and Michael Carter would be the top backup.
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing what his role is this year. They gave him what did they do with his contract? Didn't they restructure or renegotiate? They did something with his contract.
Yeah, and they restructured it, so this is the final year of his deal, and they also restructured it way down. So it's it's not an indication of they wanted to give him a chance to compete because they think he's got the skills to play safety. But by no means is he guaranteed to make the team. His contract got worked down. I'm trying to look it up. He's got 950,000 guaranteed. So, he's probably going to make the team, but that's no guarantee. 1.74 million total. Decent amount. Well, you take somebody like Jonathan Jones, who got 1.3 million guaranteed. Like, he's going to make the roster, barring injury.
Right.
And Michael Carter probably will, because he's versatile and he's a good player to have, because he can still, he can play the slot. And he's their top backup slot player. But they want to see if he can play safety.
We'll see. We will see what happens at that spot when it comes to the safety position. John, and then continue rolling. Jahad Campbell has missed some time. Obviously, he missed some of those whatever it was, a couple of weeks ago, the OTAs. So it's been Trotter.
Surgery. Right? He's not.
No, so he's not going to be out there, right?
No.
So it's been Trotter. Is that right? It's been Trotter for the most part?
Yeah. And Vic already said Jahad's not going to be back till training camp. So it's not a surprise, but last year he beat expectations. So I guess some people are hoping, but I don't think he needs to be out there. And Trot, he did this last year and he's taken all the first team reps. And, I think it's noticeable though, that occasionally they give Small Munden and Chance Campbell a first team rep as well, here and there. Not a lot, but occasionally. So they like those guys as well. So they're pretty set at linebacker. Jahad will be back by training camp. He and Zach Bond are the starter, and pretty good depth with Trotter and Small Munden. And don't sleep on Chance Campbell, because they like him a lot.
Yeah, won't sleep on him. John, looking at the overall, man, it does look like the roster's pretty strong roster. Obviously, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but for the most part, it is a pretty strong roster, at least to me right now. I don't see glaring weaknesses. Now, I guess it depends on what someone thinks of Marcus Epps. That could be a glaring weakness to somebody. And then we've talked about the depth on the offensive line, but feels like they have pretty good roster, John, throughout on the team right now. And then wide receiver, to me, is a little bit of a weaker spot now. But I know people will disagree with that. I don't. I think the wide receiver spot got a lot worse after A.J. Brown left. But overall, pretty strong roster, at least it looks it right now, John, here in the spring.
Yeah, not a lot of, and that could be, kind of boring, to be honest, at times, but not a lot of competition, because they do have a good roster, and it's pretty concrete as far as, major roles. The one you mentioned, could they get better at safety? Yes. But I mean, point to me any NFL defense, whether it's Houston, Seattle, there's weaknesses, Josh Jobe, you can talk about Josh Jobe, and the Eagles should have kept him, but he's not great. You can't have a star at every position, so it's pretty good. Mike Garafolo just tweeted something. A.J. Brown stopped by the Eagles facility last week to pick up some items, say goodbye, leave a parting message on the wall. Meanwhile, as for the conspiracy theory floating around on what led to the Brown-Hurst rip, Big Dom and others are adamant it's bogus. So enjoy your conspiracy theories on Reddit. There you have it.
Yeah. What was the parting message?
I'm sure it was positive, but I'll ask when I get down there.
Parting message on the wall means what? He wrote on a
Man,
whiteboard?
yeah, no, they, signatures on the wall and things like that. People sign stuff, on them.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a bunch of memorabilia and stuff, but yeah, the weirdest part of the whole thing is he's very popular in the building, and it's it's rare. Usually when you have situations like this, the player's unhappy, and the player, it's weird. It's he gets along with nearly everybody. But anyway, I just saw Mike tweeted that, so I pass it along.
Ian Rappaport just quote tweeted it and put in quotation marks, "The best to ever play here, always open." I don't know if that means that's what was said or that's what was
Maybe
written.
that's what he signed. He, always open. He had that sign above his locker.
I don't think he would write "the best to ever play here," would he?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
I think you need somebody else to tell you that, honestly.
I don't know. But I'll ask when I get down there.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what he says. There was also another report, John, yesterday. I'm kind of AJ'd out, so I didn't even bring it up in the open.
By the way, Dom loves AJ.
Big Dom loves AJ?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
AJ seems to be a good dude. I mean, I don't – he's a little emotional, but seems to be a good guy. I don't know.
Very, very good dude.
Eagle fans have turned on him. I haven't turned on him. He was a great player here. It ended the way it ended, but he was certainly the best receiver I've watched in Eagle football as an adult. So,
well, yeah, I mean, so 20 by far the best receiver I've seen in Philadelphia, but no disrespect to DeVonta, but yeah, I mean, he was a top 5 receiver here in the entire league.
Yesterday, a article came out, John, on ESPN from a bunch of people. I don't know. They do these like multi-authored pieces often on ESPN. This one was Jeremy Fowler, Sarah Barshop, Mike Rice, Daniel Oyefusi, and Tim McManus. So obviously the notable names there for Philly would be Fowler and McManus, who've both talked about.
Well, Fowler's national, Tim's Philly, and
local, right.
2 of those other ones are New England, and the 5th I have no idea.
So this was written here. It says a good bit of his angst stemmed from the play of Jalen Hurts, league sources said, in part because of Hurts' perceived reluctance to target Brown on tight window throws against zone coverage. Once considered best friends, Brown said there was no bad blood, blah, 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 but he acknowledged they were not as close, which became apparent. That's all fine and dandy. Don't really care about that. The Eagles didn't want a situation in which it felt like they weren't in it together, knowing they've been at their best when their team chemistry is right. Through conversations between Brown and management, it became apparent early in the offseason Brown wanted out of Philly. But the notable thing there is that first sentence. Angst stemmed from the play of Jalen Hurts. I don't know what you make of that. We've talked about this.
Yeah, I've said it over a year ago. That pisses me off. But yeah, I've been saying that forever. Yeah, I mean, it's no secret. No, it's not a secret any longer. Yeah, he's got a problem. He's got a problem with the quarterback. I'm not saying it's fair, but that's the problem.
Fair enough. I didn't even bring it up today because I'm like, I'm done talking about AJ Brown, for crying out loud. He's a New England Patriot. How about him rocking? He's rocking number. I know you're not a jersey guy. Should have just brought this up with Jeff Curry yesterday.
Number 1.
Rocking the number 1, and then the Eagles and the Patriots social medias are like battling over the 1 or something. I'm like, man, what are we doing here?
Well, 11 was Edelman, I believe. So they probably got a soft retire on that number, I would guess. Not giving it out. So I don't know. Maybe he's tweaking them, but I think it's more of all right, I can't have 11. Let's cut off one of the ones.
Yeah, I agree. But it is still funny that the social media teams are using it to play against one another. But I digress. All right, John. So what is the order today when you go down there? I guess is it practice and then you said you'll talk to people after, or is it Nick
before
So
then
usually.
practice, then players after? That's the order.
So we'll hear from Nick. Anything you're expecting to hear anything from Nick? Probably not, right?
No. Nick has become adept at the four corners offense. Just run out the clock. But I mean, it will be the first time he goes on record about since AJ left. So he's going to have to answer those questions. Nick has spoken very highly of AJ over the years, very highly. Talked about him as one of the best players he's ever coached. And, my presumption is he'll go down the route of saying that and saying, you focus on what you have, not, what you don't have, yada, yada, that kind of stuff.
Well, we'll see. I hope to hear from Jalen today because the first press conference you had with Jalen in a long time was cut really short. It was like one of the shortest press conferences of Jalen ever. It was like 8 minutes long. I'm like, what
special teams meeting.
Yeah, I think they did that on purpose. But whatever.
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, we never got to the Leffler question. I'll try to get to that. He's going to talk today or tomorrow. He's got to talk one of the 2 days. I can't guarantee which. But yeah, we'll try to get to that. And, I'm sure we'll get asked about AJ again. But he's used to handling that at this point.
Yeah, stepping into covenant. Now that I'm looking back, that was a great answer by Jalen Hurts on AJ Brown the first time around.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm sure they want to turn the page and focus on what is going on now. But
how honest?
He'll get the usual questions about the offense and about the significant change that isn't all that significant, but I digress. But
how honest do you think he is with himself? Like, do you think Jalen thinks or feels the pressure of where they are right now with his contract and the offense being underperforming? Do you think he believes it's all offensive coordinator? Like, how do you think Jalen views the offense in the last couple of years?
It's a good question. I he certainly hasn't affected him if he's his history is he responds when people doubt him, tends to use it as fuel. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it helps him. When you get to that level, I don't think you doubt yourself too much. So as far as I don't think he blames coaches. Every once in a while you'll see something bubble up and, he's mentioned the risk averse stuff, the most notably. Not running the football as much. Can't really get a handle on that other than, maybe he's just trying to extend that $50 million shelf life. But, if you don't play well, you're not extending it. So, obviously, he's not the easiest guy to read. But as far as doubting himself, I never get that.
No, I definitely don't think he's doubting himself. But like every person in their professional career, you think about what's coming. You think about what you're trying to accomplish. He obviously thinks about the next contract that would set him up and his family up for life, basically.
Well, I think they're already set up.
I know, but I'm sure that doesn't mean you don't think about the next thing. I'm sure that he is.
No, I mean, you get used to those big checks, I assume. I wouldn't know, but I assume. You want to keep them going as long as possible. But I mean, he's got to be aware that there are questions. and he knows his guaranteed money dries up after this year, so he knows what he's in for. And he spoke highly of Sean Mannion, so hopefully everything works.
Well, they're starting it earlier this year, so maybe it'll make them more comfortable understanding. John, when players, this is just a random question that was in my head when you just said about the contract. Do players get paid all throughout the year, or is it just during the season?
Nope, just during the season.
So all their money, all of their
18 weeks, yeah.
All their contract money comes during the season. Got it. What does that mean then for like players that might not make the team? Like you hear undrafted guy got $200,000 guaranteed money or whatever.
Well, they get that and nothing else. They signed 3-year deals, but so Josh Weiroo and Goosh were the two guys who got a little over 272,000. That's it. I mean, that's all that's guaranteed. Everything else, they signed a 3-year deal, league minimum. They only get that if they make the team. Got to make the team to get that. So yeah, I mean, those guys, it's really important, obviously, and a lot of guys got no money basically to sign. Very little, of course, $20,000 here, 30, and that's it. That's all that's guaranteed.
Yep, good stuff. I appreciate everybody being here. One super chat, and then I got another question for John to wrap up. We got about 14 minutes left to go on the program today. Kimberly says, AJ gave us a great run, but he moved on. So am I. In my Bill Belichick voice, we're on to Cincinnati. And in our case, we're on to the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that'll be the Eagles' approach. Part of the NFL, you got 30+% turnover every year. You never want to turn over one of your best players, but nothing new. And you got to make do. And that's why I'm pretty confident that's what Nick's answer will be is, you got to work with the people you have. And obviously they brought in a lot of receivers, to moneyball this thing, and we're going to see how it looks. But I don't think they're going to replace AJ Brown. He might be the best receiver in franchise history for a smaller sample size. Obviously, Harold's in the Hall of Fame, Tommy McDonald's in the Hall of Fame, because of their longevity. But there's never been a stretch of 4 years at the wide receiver position like AJ Brown in Philadelphia. That I can say without any question. Mike Quick, my buddy, tremendous. Was phenomenal, but there's never been a stretch of 4 years like AJ Brown. You're muted.
My bad. Yeah, we'll see what it looks like this year for AJ Brown. I am not convinced, though, John, that Drake May is going to have a big year. So I hope AJ gets what he wants in New England.
I'm with you. I'm not a Drake.
I like Drake May. I just think there's a natural.
But the playoffs soured me. And maybe he was hurt, and certainly Will Campbell was hurt, and the offensive line wasn't doing him any favors. But I don't know. It's tough to watch at times. And I think people are skipping steps with Drake May. Not that he's not good. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. There's some guys I think he's a good quarterback, but I think there's plenty of growing pains to come.
I agree. John, moving into the final question of the day, we got about 10 minutes left to go. Do you think 2026 will mark a dropping of the risk-averse philosophy for this football team?
No. They're obsessed with ball security. Like I said, I've been to a lot of NFL practices over the years. not just with this team, but even with just this team, different coaches, different. I've never seen a group spend more time on ball security than Nick Sirianni's Eagles. And it continues. This is only the third practice this year, but this first two were the same as always. They specifically have ball security circuits, strip circuits, constantly working on it. I mean, his core belief is if you win the two things, the turnover battle, explosive play battle, you're going to win the game. It's his core belief system. Is there a better balancing? Is there better tightrope? Yeah, but how do you find it? How do you find it? But they do not want to turn the football over. They're not going to be like the greatest show on turf Rams that say, screw it, we're going to score 30 points.
And so what is Nick going to be telling Sean, who wants to run a certain offense that might have to mean you got to throw the ball in tight windows, or might mean
I don't think it's conflicting because no team wants to turn it over. That's just built into the NFL mindset. You don't want to turn it over. They just emphasize it more than most. So, plus this is a very short throw oriented offense for the most part. Quick throws, which in theory should be safer throws for the most part. So I don't think it's in conflict at all. When you have the question, when you have a quarterback like Jordan Love who's going to throw it over the middle of the field and down the field, then it increases. But if that's going to happen, I got to see it first. Because
I don't know, John. I don't like that. I think they got to shed this risk averse thing a little bit. I'm not saying you want to just go and turn the ball over, but they got to play to win football games, man. They're going to do this again with the injured O-line, with all of these different.
I'll tell you what, in the auditorium where we do all the interviews with the players, and I mean, they still got the two giant banners up top, just ball security banners all over the building.
Again, I'm not saying you don't want to be ball security conscious, but
I just think it's his core philosophy. I don't think he's going away from it.
How many running attempts are you expecting Saquon Barkley to get this year?
Shitload. A shitload.
John.
I think they might run him into the ground.
John is giving me angst on this team. You're giving me angst, McMullen.
Oh, this is a full-blown Saquon Barkley season. But my prediction, and the fact this might be the last hurrah, I think it's counterintuitive, but I think they might run him more because they know this might be it. Let's just ride him into the ground. It's like Brandon Graham when he announced his retirement. I said, Vic, and everybody said, oh, he's going to play. I said he was going to play more, and I got it right. Because, Vic was going to love him, and he knew it was his last hurrah, even though it wasn't his last hurrah. Everybody claimed it was. And he used him more. Now, this is a different circumstance. It's not retirement, but I don't think you're going to see another Saquon Barkley extension in Philadelphia. So get the tread off those tires, man.
Do they have do you think they got what it takes to do that? To run?
I don't know. That depends on the offensive line health. But Chris Cooper talked about that. Should have mentioned that. Or I mean, because Chris played for a long time. He's a very good player. And he said, he knows what it's like as an offensive lineman when you can't work on your body and you're trying to play through it with injuries. He's talking about Landon specifically. Like you can't lift, you can't, you got to be strong to be an offensive. Obviously, and you can't work on your body, and it's miserable. He said, And now I don't know how Landon's going to hold up, but he's not rehabbing. He's just maintenance at this point. Same with Cam. So they're going to be better. It's just a matter of how much better. And if they're back to being Pro Bowl level players, then I think it's going to work out very well. But if you got Drew Kendall in there and Fred Johnson in there, it's probably not going to work out as well.
We'll see what happens. Here's Dunk the Funk. What up, Dunk? I like that name. Dunk. D-Dunk the Funk. Not to be confused with Dunkin' Donuts. I guess it's not Dunkin' Donuts anymore. It's Dunkin'. Dunk the Funk says, AJ is elite and helped us succeed. Eagles were number 1 in winning record and tied for second in postseason wins during AJ's tenure. AJ does not care about winning. He wants offense and stats, not wins.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case. I think, if you want to boil it down, he wants to dominate the guy opposite of him. I think other people just make it out to be about stats or wins, or I think it's on the base level. Like he wants to dominate poor Emmanuel Forbes and poor Marshawn Lattimore.
Which is very normal individually. Like I don't get how some people don't understand that these are human beings. Like having individual desires is not.
They're not, because they're not. They're not human beings. They're automatron. They're video game. They're people don't think.
I guess that's the dark reality sometimes of fandom, is that you don't even treat them like humans.
Yeah, I mean, nobody thinks about the injuries or what they're playing through.
I just mean even as a base human being. I mean, D-Dunk, is all that you care about the success of the company that you work for? Is that it? Is that the only thing that fuels you in life, or is there anything personal that you want to achieve in your time on Earth? You only got one. We only have one time on Earth. Is there nothing that you want to accomplish or achieve? I don't know. I mean, it is a team game, and you have to be that type of person. But at the end of the day,
well, I say this: it would shock, and there's different levels, but most fans, and certainly hardcore fans, care far more about the team than the players do. That's just reality.
Right.
And that's not a negative. That's the point is it's their job, number one. So think about your job, to your point. They can't be overly emotional, because when they do lose, they have to go to work the next day and try to go win next week or next year, and yeah, I mean, so, and there's different levels, but they're not living and dying like you guys are living and dying. And I know the smart ones will project that they are, from public relations standpoint, but they have to approach it differently, because you can't be like that when you're in it. You can't be, your whole life is, a lot of these guys, older guys, veteran guys, they got families, they go home, they spend time with their kids. They did, younger guys want to go out and have fun. And, so, it's a job. It's a very good job, very highly paid job. But at the end of the day, it is a job.
Yep, no doubt. All right, John, last question. What'd you think of the NBA Finals game last night in New York? Spurs get one on the board. It's a 2-1 series.
Yeah, I'm glad they got one, because, it would have been boring if it were a sweep. I still think the Knicks are going to put them away, probably in 5, but we'll see. They've been playing really well. Glad to see, looked like early that Wemby was kind of overmatched. I don't think he was ready, and he showed up and that's learning, though. You got to learn to win. Maybe he goes through it, and because he certainly showed up yesterday. And yeah, I'm glad it's not a blowout.
Yeah. No doubt. I do Wemby. He's a hell of a player. How old is that guy? 20-something? 22?
22, I think. He wasn't good in the first two games.
No, he was not. He was pretty bad in the first two games,
Yeah.
but he was good last night. All right, Johnny Mac, good show, man. We will see. We'll be listening to the pressers today here, hoping to hear a question from the great John McMullen, and we'll see what happens at mandatory minicamp today. Thank you for doing it, my friend. We will talk to you tomorrow morning.
All right, thanks, everybody. See ya.
All right, thanks, J Mac. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen, joining us right here on Birds 365. All right, you can follow him at JF McMullen. I want to thank and welcome everybody for being here today. A lot of good commentary today on the show. I hate to break it to you, but JAKIB Nation, I'm disagreeing with a lot of you guys in the chats, man, recently. A lot of Delulu comments in the chat recently. A lot of Delulu comments in the chat. So, not to say that you're not entitled to your own opinions, but, I do not agree with some of what the people are talking about in here about really this whole team, the offense, Jalen, AJ, all of this stuff. But it is what it is. It is what it is, what it is. All right. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats, by the way, today. Harris, thank you, man. 2 big super chats. Sir Wolfie Wolf, Philly Don, Dunk the Funk. I love that name. Dunk the Funk. It's like a band or something, Zander, are you still an AJ fan? He's a human being. I'm not like a hater of him. I don't, he did a lot of good stuff in Philadelphia, my friend. So yeah, I don't have any problem with him. I mean, I don't think he handled everything perfectly, no. But Brandon, I love you, but I don't know, Brandon. I don't know that I've ever witnessed a shift like this in my life. Like, at least Alfredo is delusional all throughout. Like, Alfredo is delusional when they're winning. He's delusional when they're losing. He's delusional in the offseason. He's delusional in season. He's delusional. He's consistent. Brandon Howard was ready to ship Jalen off with the Wolves in February. Now he's in here saying John McMullen is horribly wrong about every take in the world because Jalen Hurts is about to have the greatest season in the history of seasons. I mean, come on, Brandon. Come on, Brandon. You have to acknowledge, Brandon, that you have a fan-driven mindset, and a fan is short for fanatic, which is an emotionally driven position, which is okay. You're entitled to that, but it is an emotionally driven position. I, as a grown man, do not like to make all of my opinions on the basis of emotional thinking. Emotional thinking. Brandon intentionally makes shifts into delusional. He does. I can respect it too. All right. I can respect it too. I'm just telling him, what it is. Curtis is in there. It's been getting a little boring. I'm agreeing with you too much lately. You need a take for me to bitch about. Let me come up with a take for you to bitch about. I think you'll agree with that take. I don't know, Curtis. I'd have to think of that. White TZ. Check this T out. Lamborghini, Philadelphia. Look at this thing. Are you kidding me, folks? I mean, are you kidding me? This T is sick. This T is sick. All right. We'll get one. Don't force it. I'm with you, Curtis. We'll have one. We'll come up with one soon. It's that J. Cole song. Fool me one time, shame on me. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on me. Fool me 3 times, fuck the peace signs, load the choppers, let it rain on it. That's fine. Thanks, Rich. I agree. Yeah, Sealed Fates. Can you change his name, Prince? This is, I mean, what is this, dude? This is a tragic name. Absolutely, but I'm not in my feelings. I'm using. Oh, Brandon. Oh, come on, Brandon. This dude, Brandon. Oh my gosh, Brandon. I respect the fact that you have bought into your own bit to the point where you've convinced yourself you're using logic. Oh man. Hey, listen, Brandon. That's one of the reasons I love you, because you're a great fan. That's funny as shit, though. Yeah. You've convinced yourself you're using logic. Is hilarious. Yeah, I like J. Cole. J. Cole's good, man. J. Cole is good lyricist. How long in the camp will J-Mac deny the passing offense isn't changing? September? I don't know. Rashington, is there a chance he's right, dude? Jerry says, what up, Jerry? Thanks for the super chat, brother. Sorry, Zander, I haven't been posting that much. I've been really sick. Damn, bro, I hope you're all good, man. I'll be thinking of you. I'll be praying for you. I have the flu, but still watching the whole show every day, every show. Love you, brother. Love you too, man. You know I appreciate you, Jerry. You know I appreciate you. Flexen says J. Cole isn't a pal. I don't even know what that means. Flex, I don't follow like the drama, the rap drama, or any of that shit. So I don't know. Like people are like, you like Drake, and he's fighting with K. Dot. I'm like, bro, I don't care who he's fighting with. Drake makes good tunes. All right. Take Care. That was like my favorite album. One of my favorite albums. I also like some of Kendrick Lamar's stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't give a shit. I don't have to look at the, ooh, they did a rap battle. I'm like, all right, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Xander is bullying now. You can't go against the Fredo. You're my big brother, and I love you. Never take a position against the family again. That's Eagle fans. They think they're Don. They think they're Don Corleone. Prince, Eagle fans think they're Don Corleone. You know, meanwhile, they're just the side quest. You know, they're like the guys they send out on the missions that the Dons don't want to do. I got news, folks. You're not Don Corleone. That's funny as shit. That is funny as shit. Fredo. Never take a position against the family again. That's funny. I might have to rewatch Godfather soon. Which Godfather you guys like better? 1 or 2 or 3, I guess. What's your favorite Godfather movie? What is the chat's favorite Godfather movie? I need to make some big moves, guys. I got a Lamborghini to purchase. I need to make some big moves. Speaking of automobiles, I think I might be going today out with the vet, in with another vet. I'll let you guys know when that happens. It's either today or tomorrow. How many other savages in the world do you know that have a wedding in what? What's my wedding in 10 days? 11 days? 12 days? Picking up the new vet right before the wedding. As an Eagles content creator, will you be following New England? Yeah, I'll follow New England. Keep my eye on AJ. Keep an eye on AJ. Have you ever had dinner with? I have. Yeah. Wait, guys. Wait. We got to talk about something. We got to talk about something. I am either the Jalen Hurts of Jacob or the AJ Brown of Jacob. I now have gotten 2 denials. 2 no on the RSVPs from John McMullen and Dan Cilio. Both of them said, nah, your wedding, I'm out. I'm out. John and Cilio. Both of them are out. What is this? Well, what is this? Come on, man. I mean, unreal. 0 for 2. 0 for 2, Dro. John lives 40 minutes up the road. Hate to see it. You hate to see it. I'll be buying a truck. I'm getting a truck soon, too. Nah, it's all good. John's got, John had some family stuff happen a couple weeks ago. It's all good, Everybody's got the excuses. It's all good. Believe me, as somebody who doesn't like to go to shit, I can respect it, all right? They looking at you like Hassan. What am I, Hassan Reddick? Come on, man. Jada, we're serving steak. Can you believe it, folks? 2 for 2. Yeah, that's funny. I love Skitty. Skitty Joe's good, some good stuff. I'm definitely closer with Sills, like personally. But Jason, it's a lot of money to fly. Like where I'm also not like blind to it is it's also a little bit like, in a way, a wedding invitation at time can feel a little bit, I don't know if pretentious is the right word, but it's like, all right, I'm getting married, so I expect you to, spend 2 G's to fly across the country. Give me a wedding. It's like, all right. Like, if somebody doesn't want to come, I don't really have a problem with it. I was just kind of joking. All right. I was just kind of joking. But still, it's funny. All right. Yeah, it's what I mean. Flex, it's like a $3 to $5 grand. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to knock Sills for not. It's a lot of money to fly from California to Philly right now. Yeah, but that's your brother, right? Is that your brother? Yeah, it's different for brother. Sealed Fate says bullshit. I don't know what it is, honestly, Z-Main, but damn it, I went to boat. It is what it is, H. Washington says, how long before Zander is trading all these cars in for an SUV and car seats? Joke's on you guys. I'm going to have it all. I'm going to be working my tail off to have it all. No, I already got a great first kids car. I'm about to trade it in too, actually. I'm going to have the vet for my channel, and I might take my fiance's car and swap that sucker in and stay with the GM and pick up a big body Escalade. Now we're talking. Now we're freaking talking, baby. Corvette Escalade. Now what? Oh, yeah, you got to trade in your Corvette. Blah, blah, blah. Every other guy that gets married does it, so that means you have to do it. Take your prescriptions from me and shove them up your ass. I don't care. All right. I didn't fly for a friend. Yeah, that's it. Well, where was the destination wedding? Freaking vet. No, in all seriousness, I got rid of mine. Well, I didn't get rid of it yet, but I made the deal. Out with the white. Love my Corvette. I will never buy a white sports car again. Ever. Love my car. It's beautiful. But white sports car, no. No, thank you. When you have a kid, yeah, I'm excited to have kids. I'm hoping to return from Italy with a kid on the way. All right. Age, you hate to see it. Midnight green would be cool, Flex. All right. Out went my WRX. In came the CRV. I like it, Rasputin. Little Subaru WRX. My uncles love those cars. I'm not a Subaru guy, but those cars do drive nice. Those cars do drive pretty nice. STI. What'd you have? The little WRX wagon? Little wagon? Pumper says the Reddick story is definitely true. I don't know if I'd buy in that story. That story sounded like a crock of shit. Escalade B, yeah, I can't go there yet. I don't want the wife in the Escalade B. That's too fast for her. That thing is crazy. All right. Nice. 21 WRX STI. Yeah, I'm not a big Subaru guy myself. You know? I can't say I'm a big I would never get married at the Eagles. I don't care that much as you know, I love the Eagles, but like, you know, we all have a life, right? Our lives are more important than the Eagles, correct? I mean, come on, folks. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I got some shit to get done. So, are you guys going to miss me when I'm gone for a couple weeks? Nah, you won't miss me, right? You think you guys will miss me when I'm gone for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks? You guys going to miss me? I know Mayans going to miss me. Reyes, I know, is definitely going to miss me. Flexing, I hope not. 18 Camaro. I like the Camaros. The ZL, Ken Bone. I saw this Camaro that somebody had. It was like one of the last edition ones. It was like one of these classic car companies that had it for sale. And it had like 200 miles, one of the last edition ones. Freaking perfect. It was like 150 racks, though. I think you're cool. Thanks, Mr. Sparks. Appreciate it. It's going to be weird. It will be weird. The Rams glaze won't be missed. Right. So do you think the Rams are not a good football team? Okay, good. You're delusional. You're delusionally stupid. Absolutely. You're the heart of the champ. Thank you, Jerry. I don't think I can't do it alone. I'm going to Italy for 2 weeks, Flex, post-wedding. I get married in June 20th, which is what, like 2 Saturdays from now? All right, June 20th. And then I'm in Italy until July 3rd, which is a Friday. And then it's July 4th weekend. We may or may not have off on that Monday, the 6th. I would imagine we will. July 4th weekend, right? Probably. So then the 7th would be when I would return. July 7th would be when I would return. So you'll have July 22nd on that month, or June 22nd that Monday. Boom. June 29th that week through the 3rd. Maybe there might be off that Friday too, honestly, with July 4th weekend being on. July 4th is on a Saturday. I actually didn't realize that. Yeah, we flew back on July 3rd because we wanted to be home for the America 250 in Cape May. Will be pretty dope. Yo, go Birds. I was looking at it, but I honestly, dude, it's kind of hard to go dark horse because it's like a GT. It's not a Shelby, you know, it's a GT. It's a souped up GT, and I really didn't want to go back down that road. I know it's got the nice Tremec and stuff, the 6-speed, which would have been really fun, but you know, I don't know, man. Corvette makes you not want to go back to a GT. I'll tell you where I almost went, but Go Birds. I almost went GT 500, but man, the prices of them are going up right now. Z performing at America 2. No, I just want to be with my family for a holiday, right? Is that such a problem with you, you freaking weirdo? All right. Have a great time. Thank you. You know, Flex, I don't know. Is this just me? I don't know. Is this just a me thing? No, my dad will be covering for me. He's not coming to Italy. You think I'm taking my dad on my honeymoon, Brandon? Hey, Dad, strap in, man. You're coming with me and my wife. Come on, Brandon. No, that Mike Krause would be covering for me. Original 4 GT, they were crazy. Is it just me? As a man, I feel a little emasculated going on a vacation. Like, bro, you got work to do. Like, what are you doing? Walking around like you ain't got shit to accomplish. I know everybody's like, yeah, you got to take time off, Zander. You need to do. It's like, hey, here's me on the Amalfi Coast. It's like, dude, you got a business to run. You got fucking work to do. You got things to accomplish. You got boxes to check. You got a house to get in order. I don't know. That's sometimes how I feel about it. You going to I think we are. I think we're going to Sorrento and a couple other. We're going to a bunch of places on the Amalfi Coast. We're there for like 8 days. So we're going to we're doing several different day trips. We're going to Capri. Yeah, so work isn't. I know work's not everything, but you know. Now the good Lord probably. That's true. All right, that's a good one. Trust me, I feel it. I just got back from the Bahamas now. Tea time, right? Plus, it's with my wife. Yeah, that's true. Go enjoy yourself. I will. You're being a man by. There you go. I like that, Curtis. Being a man by showing your lady that that's gonna be. It will be a kick-ass trip. It will be a kick-ass trip. She booked everything. I told you guys. I hand over the card. Book it, honey. No price limits on our honeymoon. You know, I don't vacation much, but if I'm gonna vacation, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it up. So I'm excited. All right, guys. I love all you guys. Appreciate all you guys. Hit that like button. Minicamp today. We'll see what happens down there, if anything. But we'll see what happens. Hit that like button. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.